Hi guys, my name is Sabrina and I'm here today with the Power Within Us, and we have a very special guest, Kwali.
What's up now?
And we are here to talk about her magical work. Thank you so much, Kwali, for coming here today with your precious snakes, and please tell us about what you do in your line of work.
Well, I teach Kundalini Yoga, and I also teach special workshops called Serpent Healing. So what they are, we use the technology of Kundalini Yoga. I got special permission from my guru to do this work. So we use the technology of Kundalini Yoga to prepare the students to have an experience meeting the Serpents of Wisdom. So they will go through a procedure of performing very powerful kriyas depending on the energy that we're working with. We usually work through the chakra system, and we look at how the fear affects people in different chakras. So the energy of each chakra is usually the focus of the workshops, and the way that we work with the serpents is a slightly different way each time depending on which chakra that we're working with. But the essence of each workshop is to help people to overcome their fears, whether it be just fear of the snake, which is the predominant fear that mankind has, one of snakes and spiders, but also if people aren't scared of snakes, then we're just working with the serpent energy of transformation so that they can use the energy of the workshop to lock on to whatever it is that they may be afraid of in life, and allow the serpent energy to assist them to free their phobias and anxieties and fears. So it's very much using the technology of Kundalini Yoga to prepare. So we don't move the technology in any way. We use it as taught by Yogi Bhajan, and then when it comes to the deeper part of the work, we then introduce the serpents into the meditation. And so we always perform these meditations in a healing circle, so that everyone feels really held by the group, and so that the serpents are at home because they love circles. So and then each student is offered the chance to meditate with the serpents. And depending on how they're feeling, which is usually pretty nervous, until they actually have the opportunity to view the serpents first, and then if they're not quite ready to touch the snakes or hold the snakes or meditate with the snakes, then they just place their hands together just to show that they're not quite ready, and then the serpents will then go and meet all the other members of the group, and usually by the time people have watched and observed for a little while, then they're kind of ready, as you've experienced yourself, as somebody who was not quite sure.
Yeah, exactly. No, I used to be petrified, terrified. I would never even think of being in the same room with a snake. And look at me now, it's just, it's definitely such an amazing technology, and it's just, you feel really open to the vulnerability and how hard it is. When you were talking about it, you can really hear from your heart that how much you care for them, and the fact that they haven't got legs and they haven't got arms, and it's really hard to be a snake. And
Exactly.
petrified of them, right?
And everyone hates you. As well as the fact you haven't got arms, legs, you can't really see how we see and hear how we hear. You know, it's a very different existence for a serpent, which is why I think so many people are scared of them, because they're so far away from us. But yet we all have the essence of one inside us, because we all have the Kundalini energy flowing through us. So, you know, for this work, I think it's so important that people get down with snakes, you know, that they be comfortable with snakes, because they need to be comfortable with their own serpent of wisdom inside of them. And I think that's what naturally is brought up as you know, it's quite confrontational. That energy it's definitely so, you know, in your face, if you like. You have to deal with it, you know. But the context of how you meet the snakes, I think, is everything. And that's what my work's all about, is providing a safe and sacred space for the serpents to be comfortable predominantly, because, you know, it's all about them. And for those in the circle to feel as comfortable as the snakes, so that everyone's happy, and the snakes are being met in their own context in their own way, and that they're happy, because I rescue snakes, so obviously their welfare is everything.
So when did you start working with this? When did your work start with the snakes? When was the first time?
Well, I was given my first snake. I moved into a house where there was a serpent, and the guy that had the serpent, I guess he hadn't really been so much in. I think he got it for, look, isn't this fabulous? But then didn't realise how long, it lived, and how much, attention they need, and so on and so forth. One day that serpent escaped, and I was faced with having to find the serpent.
Oh wow!
In the house, and the electric went off. It ran out just at that moment. So it's like a movie, And I'm like, this is the universe saying, well, if you have a fear, now you have to face it, because it's the welfare of the snake. It has to go back in its tank. It has to be warm.
Yeah.
So there I am in the dark, looking for a snake that I've never actually held before, thinking, I don't even know if I am scared, but I must be, because my heart is beating, and it's like, this is, maybe I shouldn't be doing this in the dark. Anyway, I hunted high and low, couldn't find the serpent, and then I thought, well, this is silly. I'll wait till the morning, because the light is going to be my friend, and we're going to be able to manage, much better. So then the next day I'm searching the house, and eventually I find it coiled up around the leads, or the electrical leads. So it obviously taken its heat from the leads during the night. So it was, and then it was this moment where you have to get back in your tank, and I've got to be the one to help you do that. So this was me dealing with my own fear, and just knowing that I had to save it and put it back. So and that moment we became friends. I very, very gently just put my hand out, and we spoke psychically, and I think that was when I first realised that snakes are very, very deep, interdimensional, psychic creatures. And I explained everything that I was going to do and how we were going to do it, and then I just really felt like the snake just invited me to lift it, and then we had a cuddle, and then I placed her back in the tank. And then when it came a few months later, my friend said, oh, I don't think I'm looking after the snake as well as I could, would you like it? And so I said, well, I never would have thought I'd be looking after a snake, but I said, yeah, okay, I'll take it on. I'll call it Kundalini, because I knew what Kundalini was at the time. But I didn't actually realise that that serpent was going to take me on my path to becoming a Kundalini Yoga teacher.
So you were not already... Oh,
no,
wow.
I just knew that the only name for a snake was Kundalini. It just made so much sense. This is Kundalini the second, by the way.
Wow.
Because when Kundalini the first passed away, after a great life we had together, she stayed with me for a good 10 years or so. And then when she passed away, I wanted to honour her life. So I said to her spirit, because you've given me so much, I will take up Kundalini Yoga in honour of your life. And now I teach it. So she really brought me to my path, So it couldn't have been more magical, really, because if it hadn't been for that wonderful friend passing her to me, I don't think I would have ever thought to go out and buy a snake, because I didn't think it was fair to keep snakes in boxes, and they should all be in the jungle where they belong. But then I realised that there are lots of snakes in the Western world, and as long as they're looked after properly and appropriately, they can live a very happy life, because they don't do a lot. They just sit under their rock and they meditate, which is great from the yogic point of view. We can learn a lot. Yeah, exactly. But they're not so unhappy in captivity, because they don't generally do a huge amount in the wild anyway. So as long as they have a nice food source coming to them, and their heat and their light, and that side of things is very important, because they really rely on us. Like you said, they are quite delicate in that sense. They need the heat to live. If they don't eat enough, if they don't have enough heat, then they won't eat, and then they will just transcend. So they're very special in that sense. So the husbandry is really important, which is what I try and get across to all my students as well, is that snakes can live up to 30, 40 years. Oh wow. So before getting one, always do your homework, and always rescue where you can, because there's many snakes in the Western world that need rescuing, because obviously a lot of people don't realise they live as long as they live, and that they require as much attention as they do. And a lot of people think that they don't do a lot. So they get them as a pet, and then they think, I don't want this pet anymore, it doesn't really do anything. It's like, well, what it does is meditate, and that is what it does, So, but obviously, people get a bit bored, don't they? So, no, I never do.
So do you rescue a lot of snakes then?
Yeah, I have. I've just taken in 2 extra rescues. Well, my door was closed closed, but I can never turn a damsel in distress away, you know. So yeah, we're back up to 19 now. So it's in the sanctuary. 20 is my limit, because I have a toddler now as well. So I want to be able to give them all the maximum attention.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always try to encourage people when they're trying to bring them to me to the sanctuary to explore every possible avenue to make sure that they have definitely, you know, they definitely want to give the snake up, because a lot of the time it can just be a few little things, like if they're biting it's because they're not eating, or, you know, there's just a few little, so I try to coach people on how to look after them properly so that the serpent is happy. But then if they still really don't feel comfortable, then I will take them in, you know, because I know how to care for them, and I've brought many back from like really quite bad spaces where they've just been starving themselves, or you know, so they're very delicate and subtle creatures, you know. It's for them to eat it's a big deal, and they will only eat if everything is right in their world, you know, and that's obviously what they are. They're, you know, they're an alimentary canal. They're just eating machines, you know. So if their food source is got to be correct. Some of them like mice, some of them like rats, some of them will not eat a mouse, but they'll eat a rat. So you really have to kind of speak snake to make sure
psychically.
Exactly, to make sure everybody's happy, and obviously you have to write everything down as well, because there's a lot of them, and they don't eat every day like a cat or a dog. So you know, you have to make your records really sharp so that you know when they're shedding their skin, when they're eating, so that you can't work with them in this way. If one was digesting, we wouldn't be able to hold it now. So you know, so you have to be aware of that, because obviously that's what makes them feel comfortable and safe, is if they're only handled when they're meant to be, and you know, when they're feeling sociable, when they've digested and been to the bathroom and shed their skin, then they're ready to meet some people.
Yeah, no, definitely. And what is about the snakes in Kundalini? What is it about that, you know, story behind the energy of rising, the snake rising? Could you tell us about that?
Well, I mean, we all have the serpent energy inside of us, and that is always, you know, referred to as a Kundalini, as the coiled snake that sits at the base of our spine, that rises up through the chakras, piercing each chakra, enlightening each chakra, allowing the energy to open and then come up to the crown, where you see some of the symbology of the cobra at the top of the head, which is the symbol of the opening of the crown, the enlightenment.
Like
so that,
Shiva.
Yeah,
basically.
absolutely. So Shiva being the example that we all know. Many reasons really why Shiva has a snake. One is to depict his lord of all animals, all beings, also that he's transcended, and because snakes often depict the spirit worlds. Obviously they hold poison as well, so he's so at peace and at one with everything, that because he wears the cobra. He doesn't wear these little ones. No. Yeah, he wears the cobra, which is obviously one bite in your history, as they say. So obviously that is to show that he has mastered the physical dimension and the etheric dimension as well. And I think with the serpents and how they work with people and their Kundalini energy, I think generally people have got a fear around snakes, and that is to do with a few things. Energetically, death fear, which we all have. We all know it's going to happen at some point in our life, and a serpent it really confronts that in us. But, you know, a lot of people will just say to me, "But can it kill me?" You know, that's the first thing they say. But can it kill me? Can it eat me? And it's like this big. Yeah. Clearly, it won't fit you in there, but it's instinctive in our heads, because their brothers and sisters can. Some of them are very dangerous. So I think it brings up those feelings of death fear. It brings up feelings around sexuality, because they can be quite phallic, and they're also the symbol of fertility and the female power. So I think that's another issue that humanity has quite a lot of issues with, that the serpent will provoke a somatic response, in like you don't even know why you're having that response, so you know, but it brings it up. And then the spirituality, the false spirituality, being, you know, the biggest thing that they carry around with their karma is all the bad press that they've received from the Bible story, you know, which is, you know, open to interpretation, you know, and has been interpreted in a negative slant for serpents. So I think it brings up a lot of issues to do with religion and spirituality as well. So those three things is really, I believe, the three things that humanity has most issues with, you know, sexuality, death, fear, and false spirituality. So I think with that, coupled with the fact that they are a symbol of the energy that is living within each and every one of us, I think, you know, it's only natural that there would be a relationship between working with your Kundalini energy and working with serpents.
Yeah.
And just yawned for you there. Am I boring you? I'm so sorry. So I think that the combination of the two gives people the idea of being able to sit with their own energy by sitting and meditating with a serpent. That is literally what humanity needs to do, because we just don't sit still with ourselves, and serpents are always sitting still. This is really active for them, you know. They will sit still unless they're digesting, or, you know, they only move for a reason. So they're master meditators. So I think from the point of view of the Western world, we can learn a lot from them, you know. It's about just sitting and being in our power, in our grace, in our silence, and in our Kundalini energy. So I think there's just a natural connection between the two anyway, and, you know, I feel that this is their path, really. It's I'm just facilitating for them, you know. They're snakes in the city, you know, they're working with their own magic, you know, definitely. And I just feel really honoured to be a part of that process for them, and for me, just to have them be rescued and then come and meet beautiful people and exchange beautiful energy, and the healing energy that people feel from them. I mean, you probably can speak for that yourself, definitely. You know, and people say, well, how do they heal us? How do they heal us? Well, they're natural transmuters. They're naturally transforming and transmuting energy all the time. Hence, they slide out of their skin when they've had a big meal sometimes, you know. They'll go into a shed and then they just rebirth. So they literally are giving us that gift of the natural transmutation, you know. They're absorbing out the negativity, and then when they shed their skin, they give it back to Mother Earth. So it's almost like, you know, they're teaching us what we need to be doing, and that's shedding our skin, you know. We still shed skin, you know, but much tinier, so we have that in common as well, you know. So we have a lot more in common with them than we actually that's true. You know, because we are one. But I think if people can see that they are one with something so different and, you know, unique, then that really opens them up, and to be able to feel that energy of oneness in with everyone, you know.
Definitely.
So
definitely. And one thing I remember as well from your workshop, it's that you were telling us about the energy of the serpent and the dragon, and growing wings and connecting to the spiritual world. So I really love the fact that there's so much symbology with serpents. So the Mayans, for instance, Quetzalcoatl, you see the ku, this is the seed sound of the serpent, Ku, Kundalini, Quetzalcoatl. So whenever you see the ku, Kumara, that's the seed sound of the serpent. And so Kumara, for instance, which is what we chant to them, because it's the interdimensional serpents of wisdom mantra, if you like. Ku is the great serpent, Ma, great mother, and Ra, great father. So Kumara is basically bringing us to that point of balance within our heart. So we're marrying the earthly energies of the serpent, and then bringing the cosmic consciousness down, so that we're literally giving the serpent back its wings. So you see a lot of dragon mythology and the serpents represented in the Mayan culture, Quetzalcoatl, for instance, the plumed serpent, so the wings symbolizing that the serpent has evolved, it has transcended, it has become one with Source, with Great Father Sky, and is one with Mother Earth, because it's on the ground, quite literally. It's the closest thing to the earth that's living, apart from all the insects and so on. But, you know, so the fact that the two are marrying together, that's the symbol
of enlightenment is we becoming one with our higher self and marrying our lower self to meet in the heart, to open ourselves to unconditional love. So I think that energy of the serpent becoming the dragon is really a symbol for all of us as a symbol of enlightenment, if you like. So, and you know, it's not the only place that we see it. I'm just rescuing her in case she wiggles down there. So, and it's not the only symbol of enlightenment with regards to snakes. You can see, you know, there's a lot of snake references in African culture. John Melchizedek, he talks a lot about the serpent of light, the energy of Mother Gaia being the spirit of the earth, being a serpent. It's a wonderful book if ever you want to read around the subject on the Mother Gaia's energy, the serpent power of Mother Earth. And there's also a fabulous book by Mark Amaru, which is also a really, really very deep book, and that's called The Return of the Serpents of Wisdom. And in that book, it's magnificent. He really collates all of the serpent references and brings it all into one book where you can really go deeply into exploring, you know, all the different cultures and the python priestesses and Egyptians. They always wore pythons in their crown, and
definitely.
And I mean, you know, given half a chance, that's where these guys like to sit. Is something. So they literally are sitting on the crown chakra to working their magic. So you know, what I'm doing is ancient. Actually, it's not it's not a new thing, but obviously in the Western world, people think it's a new thing and it's a gimmicky thing, or it's, you know, people are calling it snake yoga, which is kind of not appropriate because it just gives the impression of people dangling snakes around in all sorts of weird positions, where really all we're doing is meditating with them and getting into their spirit and the soul, you know, and ourselves, you know, understanding ourselves as part of the all.
Wow, yeah, such an amazing work.